to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. It's a momentous occasion here, especially for me. So, first item on the agenda is comments by mayor. I'll save some other comments for later, but my comment on this part of the agenda is very straightforward. I just wanted to let everybody know that I had the privilege, as did Alderman Rummel and Alderman Notes and Alderman Weber, of going to the grand opening of the Fannie Mae store over in Sunset Corners, and they've completely changed the branding. I mean, it still has echoes of the past, but the branding is very modern and very slick, and the store looks great, and the chocolate's still good, and there was a lot of free stuff too, so it was really good. But it's just great to have another new business opening up in town, and I think over the next few months we're going to see a lot of that. So the trend continues, and Lake Forest continues to thrive. So that concludes my comments for now. So the next item on the agenda is comments by the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. Good evening. Pleased to say I have no report tonight.
Well, that was quick. Okay, next item on the agenda is opportunities for the citizens to address the city council on non-agenda items. Is there anybody that would like to speak about a non-agenda item? Okay. There being none, we're going to move to committee reports, and we have a committee report from Alderman Rummel, who's the chair of the Environmental Sustainability Committee of the City Council, which I established early on in my term. And she's going to give us a little recap of what's been happening and what's been accomplished by this rather new committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's my pleasure to be able to address my fellow aldermen for the last time, and the residents as well. And I wanted to get an opportunity to review this committee and its accomplishments because it is a new committee to the City Council. And thank you, Mayor, for indulging us and creating this committee. It's a full committee, full standing committee of the City Council. So it is on a par with Public Works and Property and Public Lands Committee. And but we had to sort of invent this committee from thin air, and it's been an inspiring and interesting opportunity.
Alderman Rummel.
Is my microphone?
No, that's what. Can you check that and bring it closer?
There we go. Do we have someone who's doing the slides for us here?
I believe Dana.
Oh, Dana, okay. So the Environmental Sustainability Committee really took its lead from the strategic plan and looked at 4 main areas: greenhouse gas emissions, waste management reduction, stormwater management, and health and wellness. And I want to just take a moment to mention that we were nationally recognized for our Rethink Recycle program, which hopefully many of you are familiar with. Hopefully we've reached you all with what you can and cannot recycle. The real initiative was was to reduce the cost of our waste management collection. Some of our environmental sustainability initiatives are on the next slide. There we go. So in terms of the greenhouse gas emissions, some of the things that we did was the installation of EV charging stations in our newer and redone parking lots, the conversion of the city fleet over time to new hybrid EV vehicles, the community solar program, which has touched many of you. You've received letters. Some of us have signed up for it. There are 2 prongs to this. There's the one where we as residents receive a reduction in our electric bill through MC squared, but it's on your ComEd bill. And what they do is they get some of the power from solar farms in Illinois. I know mine comes from Mendota, it keeps saying on my bill. And there's, the other part of that is an electrical aggregation program where Commonwealth Edison has enrolled residents and businesses in a solar program, and the savings from that go directly to the city over time. This past year, we got $90,000, and it was used to enhance environmental sustainability programs. The other item under this would be the idle-free community resolution and campaign. Under waste management, the next category, Rethink Recycling campaign, which I mentioned. Also, I'm delighted to announce that hopefully at the next city council meeting or shortly thereafter, this council will be voting on a curbside composting initiative. We will be engaging with a third party to pick up our compost curbside, where it will be recycled into compost. This has been done by several other communities already. It was passed by the Environmental Sustainability Committee through an RFP process. And what it will result in is residents can sign up for this program, pay for it privately. It won't be through our waste management. We don't have the capacity to do it. It'll be about $22 for weekly service, and about $14 for every other week. Stormwater management enhancements, bioswales we've incorporated into a number of our public works projects, including next to Waveland parking lot and the South Park parking lot. We've incorporated catch basins underneath our Old Elm parking lot, under the Forest Avenue parking lot, and of course, the biggest catch basin of them all under Burr Oak. And what that is going to do is filter our stormwater before it goes into our ravines and into Lake Michigan, where we get our drinking water. We have done, of course, ravine restoration and encourage native plantings, for example, on our beach bluff, and as part of our restoration of the bluff, there will be native plantings helping to absorb some of the water that's coming off of that bluff. Community wellness is another one of our focuses. We're working to construct a new community garden, hopefully in the very near future, and some other, our education campaign also is part of that. Moving on, and what you have in front of you is a somewhat complex memo, but when we were given the charge of creating this committee, we wanted to see what the fiscal impact would be, both in terms of savings and expenses, and this was a very important part of the committee, and so every alderman, and I hope you'll take the time to read this, because it really explains what the committee has been able to accomplish. Total estimated savings are $445,000 in programs and initiatives. So some of these items are such things as the Rethink Recycling campaign that I already mentioned, where we are saving approximately $50,000 annually. Our curbside composting program, about $5,000 annually. Our municipal aggregation program, as I mentioned, over 3 years will save give us $270,000. We received a grant for our Rethink Recycling campaign, and we also got a Power Safe Community grant for the Forest Avenue AV parking plugs for AV vehicles. Then on to the next item, which is the savings from or capital improvement project enhancements. So these are additions to our capital improvement projects that have been incorporated. These are sustainable elements incorporated into our public works projects. So this committee has worked very closely with Public Works on their projects, and thankfully, and partially the initiative of Alderman Morris, environmental enhancements are now part of our budgeting process when we look at our public works projects, which is very important. And we've had a number of sustainable enhancements to a lot of our public works projects, which are outlined more fully in the memo you received. And the expense of that has amounted to about $487,500. But offsetting that is the grant funds that have been awarded to support these programs. Some of this was not directly because of sustainable elements in it. Some of them were, and we're very proud of that, but to the tune of about almost $5 million. And I have to believe that even some of those grant awards that weren't directly associated with the sustainability elements were enhanced in the review process by noting the sustainable elements that were made a part of those projects, and we're very proud of that. And I also want to mention that there are a little over $1 million worth of sustainable elements that are being incorporated also into the Deer Path Park project. So just showing that sustainability has really now become a part of our culture here at the City of Lake Forest. And I would be remiss if I didn't also mention the very elaborate and an important educational campaign. There's Sustainability Sundays. If you watch your the newsletter that comes out weekly, it's in the dialogue, and we often talk about especially seasonal elements that will enhance sustainability in our homes, including composting at home, rain barrels, planting native plants, not using coal tar-based sealants on your driveways, and that's been a very robust campaign that I hope will continue. With that, I will turn things back over to the mayor with, again, many thanks to my colleagues for your support while we created this committee. And I think that the next initiative, well, we have an initiative where we did a baseline of our carbon footprint as a community, which was a very elaborate process. And hopefully, as these initiatives come online, we'll be able to go back and revisit that baseline and see very real progress, measurable progress in our carbon footprint as a community. So in addition to the fiscal impact of these initiatives, we'll be able to really show what it's doing for our community in terms of global warming and reducing our carbon emissions. So that concludes my report. Thank you very
Any
much.
questions for Alderman Rommel? Well, I'd like to thank you for ably taking this under your wing and creating exactly what we were hoping for, which is a focused, it was a very amorphous goal. And, how do we get this, how do we actually accomplish some things? How do we focus the energy of the committee? And then also, at the end of the day, as you pointed out, just sort of build this into our culture so that it's happening sort of as a matter of course, which I think is a great example. The Deer Path Park project was exactly like that. It was designed in from the beginning, didn't have to be redesigned or evaluated by the sustainability committee. It just started out that way, and is going to be a great project and very, very green. So thank you for kicking this off and in 2.5 short years, really getting a lot done. So.
Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. The next thing on the agenda is items for omnibus vote consideration. I have 8 items tonight. First is approval of the April 17th, 2023 City Council meeting minutes. Second is approval of the check register for the period of March 25th to April 21st, 2023. Third, approval of fiscal year '24 special event funding for Friends of Lake Forest Park and Recreation in the amount of $100,000. 4, approval of ordinances terminating Special Service Area 25 and Special Service Area 26, and declaring surplus to be refunded to impacted property owners. First reading, and if desired by the City Council, final approval. 5th is approval of collective bargaining agreement between the city and Lake Forest Employees Association, LFEA. 6th is approval of a 12-month renewal agreement with XO Communications for SIP Communication Services at an estimated expense of $34,000. 7th is an award of the low bid for the 2023 crack sealing project to Patriot Pavement Maintenance, Inc., and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement in the amount not to exceed $35,000. And 8th is approval of professional engineering services for the 2023 sanitary sewer inflow and infiltration testing to RJN Group, and authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement in the amount not to exceed $100,000. Are there any items here that any member of the council would like removed or taken separately? Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve,
So moved.
Second.
and a roll call vote, please.
Alderman Kashgarian.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Morris.
Aye.
Alderman Novit.
Aye.
Alderman Rummel.
Aye.
Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack.
Aye.
7 yea, 0 nay, motion carries.
Okay. The next and last item on our agenda, and there'll be a short break before the second session starts, is additional items for discussion and comments by council members. So I think first, the city manager will say a few words, and maybe we'll snap a few pictures.
That's right, and I'll, both for the council and for the audience's understanding, run through what this is going to look like, and I ask everyone to bear with us a little bit. It's somewhat unusual for us to be celebrating 3 departing elected officials in the same meeting, but here we are, and this group has an incredible legacy of accomplishment and has earned tonight's victory lap. So bear with us, but this may take a little while. But for the council, know, for the order of events here, and this may be familiar to you because we've done this fairly recently with Alderman Ray Bushman when he departed, I'm going to start by providing gifts on behalf of the city. After that, I will provide some brief comments, and I will try to keep them brief so I'm not stealing everyone else's thunder. And then I will turn it over to the city council, where you can all provide comments for your outgoing colleague. And we're going to go in order from left to right. We'll start with Alderman Morris, then with Alderman Rummel, and then with Alderman Pandeleon. Once that's concluded, we do actually have former Alderman Jennifer Karras, who's here with us tonight, who served with virtually all of you and wanted to make a few comments as well. After that is done, then we will turn it over to the departing elected officials, and you can offer any farewell comments you would like to your colleagues and to the community. So with that, Alderman Morris, we're going to start with you. And again, I think you know how this goes by now. You've seen a lot of these in your time, but on behalf of the city, we have a certificate for a tree to be planted in your honor anywhere in the First Ward, and a gift that you can otherwise open for everyone to see here.
Watch this after the very, oh, you want me to do this first?
You know what that is.
That's right. Our treatment, so, Record Thomas, been hard at work back at the shop. Backside too. But you have to. I don't know if you can hear me. There's a story behind this because Northrop Holland has won a triple award from the Finance Officers Association for their budgetary, their governmental finance reports, and the popular financial report. It has the transparency for the city financials, so this is part of that. So I think you should share in this. Thank you very much.
It has nothing to do with our credit rating.
Well, Alderman Morris, I think as everyone in this room knows, you've had a remarkable 6-year run as finance chair for the city of Lake Forest, and I won't run through all of the accomplishments during that time, in part because I hope you and others on the council will have the opportunity to reflect on that. But I will say at a high level, if the goal of a finance chair, or really anyone on the city council, is to try to leave the place in a little bit better shape for the next group that succeeds you, it is fair to say that you are all leaving the city in probably the best financial shape it has seen in decades, and that is an incredible testament to your leadership and your guidance over the years. While there are a lot of things you can and should be very proud of, the one that I wanted to highlight for everybody this evening was your commitment to financial transparency, and it is something that has really drove a lot of our efforts over the last few years. There are a lot of communities or units of government out there that pay lip service to financial transparency by throwing very unapproachable and unreadable financial documents on their website and calling it a day. But really from, I'd say, predating even my hire, it was clear a priority of yours was making financial information accessible and approachable to the average layperson in the community, and really we've made tremendous strides with that. And I think if you go to our website now, I really view us as sort of the gold standard of having meaningful and easy to comprehend financial information. And again, I think that's a legacy that you certainly leave here, and we're very grateful for all your efforts with that. More broadly, I will say, I think in many ways you've personified the ideal sort of standard for conduct and demeanor. As an alderman, I've always been so impressed watching you operate in these meetings. And if there's two words that I think of that sort of personify you, it's even-keeled. And I think most of your colleagues would agree with that. And through the general and natural highs and lows that come with serving in city government, it can be very difficult to do that. But while you were generally, soft-spoken in our meetings, you carried a real quiet confidence and commanded a lot of respect from your peers. And I know all of them will say that when you spoke, people listened. And that is, again, a testament to how you conducted yourself as an alderman. And so I just want to say on behalf of the city staff, what a pleasure it has been serving with you, working with you. We're going to miss you, and thank you for your service. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Pandeleon. When he's done with his comments, then we'll start with Alderman Novitt, your colleague in the First Ward, and we'll go around from there.
Well, first, I just want to thank you for being the rock-solid financial anchor for the council. It's taken a huge load off of me. I had that job before, and it's a lot of extra work, and you have to learn a lot too, because most of us come in here not really understanding how accounting and finance is done at the municipal level. It's quite different than the private sector. So, and it's a steep learning curve, but we also have an amazing staff, and we benefit from that. But thank you, and to just echo Jason's comments, always thoughtful, always even-tempered, and in good humor, and just much appreciated. So thank you, Jed.
Well, I've only been here for a year, so my experiences with everybody is not as much work-oriented as personal-oriented. And I want to thank you for taking me under your wing, meeting with me monthly, making sure I understood what was going on, and just really being just approachable, and such a great, as Jason said, such a great example of how to conduct myself. I don't know if I've learned any of it yet, but you've given me good goals, Jared, good goals.
For the First Ward.
Well, I'm not going anywhere, so that's going to happen. But no, Terry and I are looking forward to trying to fill your shoes. I don't know that we'll be able to. my biggest learning curve with you is learning how to respond so eloquently to the emails that come. I'm working on it. I applaud your ability to do it so quickly and so well, and I promise I will try. So don't send me any for a while. Give me a couple
Keep
weeks.
forwarding him.
Really? Okay, thank you. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Jed, while I've only been on city council 3.5 years and your tenure leading finance predated me, you know, it's without any question, for everyone who was on and experienced life before Jed Morse took over finance, from everything I've seen from day one, the financial statements that you and Elizabeth and the staff have prepared couldn't be easier to read. I'm reiterating points that have already been made, but it has made our job sitting up here and getting through just all that data and analysis has been extraordinarily easy. And I know that you made it look easy, and and it certainly was no small undertaking. I believe we've had 3 Moody's reaffirmations of our AAA bond rating in the 3-year period that I've been on city council, and public corporations can't. I imagine very few have been able to have that constant reaffirmation of the quality of the financial state that you have helped maintain and build upon here with the city. Tiffany and I are going to miss you and Kate and your travel advice at the city dinners, but we look forward to certainly keeping in touch with you in town and bending your ear for that travel guidance. So thank you, Jed, for all your leadership on council.
It's my turn. Jed, you and I started out on this adventure together, you and I and Ray. And I want to thank you for your tireless service as our Finance Committee Chairman for the past 6 years. You've helped place the city in a very enviable position of having a AAA bond rating and ample reserves. And as Finance Chairman, you're often called upon to attend, I know, numerous other meetings aside from just the city council meetings, because finance is a part of so many other committees. So the time you have put in is probably greater than any other alderman sitting on this dais, and thank you. You served on the Environmental Sustainability Committee for a time with me, and certainly helped with that. And as I mentioned earlier, you were the driving force to make sustainability a regular part of our budget process, and that's really helped change the culture of the city. One of these days, I'm hoping that along with you, that the city will convert some of its mowed areas to natural prairie. That is still on our agenda at the Environmental Sustainability Committee. But most of all, I want to thank you for your friendship and for your counsel over the years. And I certainly hope that Mike and I can stay in touch with you and Kate, because your advice and counsel, and again, your measured advice over the years has been something I've really cherished, and thank you.
Okay. So I rarely actually write down comments for these meetings, but I think it's important to share what's on your heart with everybody as they're ending their volunteer service, so bear with me a little bit. I wanted to get everything in to my 3 colleagues. So I'm going to start with you, Jed. Jed, it was a pleasure working with you the last 5 years, and thank you for your service to Lake Forest. You're a gentleman and a scholar, and you always conducted yourself with the utmost integrity, always looking to do what's right in the best long-term interests of the city and to all the residents in Lake Forest. You're also kind and humble. We're always a great team player and a pleasure to work with. You did a masterful job as our finance chair. So working with George and Elizabeth and her team to lead us through this 9-month annual budgeting process that we've gone through many, many times. And this is my 5th year with you doing it, and you just did an amazing job every year. The headline is our city has never been in better financial shape, and it's in large part thanks to you and your tireless efforts, and the tireless efforts of people like you that have come before us. AAA bond rating with ample cash balances, always balanced budget with modest annual tax levies to keep up with inflation and critical infrastructure needs. Very manageable and healthy balance sheet, an innovative pension funding strategy on the horizon to manage and minimize our key pension liabilities over time. Prioritize funding of essential capital projects to make our city better, coupled with tremendous amount of state and federal grant financing to offset the actual required taxpayer funds. You ran great meetings, both budget workshops and finance meetings a couple times as pro temp. Our city online financial reports in terms of transparency and flashports, and our budget document tied to our strategic plan. It's just best in class, just really phenomenal. So thank you for all your hard work and dedication to the city of Lake Forest. You are the epitome of the citizen volunteer ideal. Someone who raises their hand to help, does the quiet hard work behind the scenes, always advocates for what's in the best long-term interest of the city, never makes it about themselves, and humbly passes the baton to the next person after having made things better. On a personal note, I enjoyed our many coffees and lunches at Panera Bread and other locales, and to get to know you so well over the years. You made an incredible contribution to Lake Forest. Thank you so much for your tireless hard work. I look forward to seeing you in the community, and best of luck in the future.
One of the challenges of being in the third ward is our comments always come at the end, and sometimes you wonder what's going to be left unsaid. And I see former Alderman Reisenberg out there, and you didn't tell me about that, Jack. So, but I'm going to give a go at it anyhow. So, I was working under the assumption that we would talk about many of the great things that you did as an alderman, being the Finance Committee chair, your stewardship, masterfully guiding the city through our financial process and budgeting. But as I reflected over the weekend about my notes that I wanted to prepare, thinking about the last 4 years, one word kept coming into my mind, and that was gentleman. And Jim, you touched on that. This simple noun describes you to a T. Being a gentleman is a matter of choice. It's a title you earn through unwavering commitment to invest, pardon the pun, in your character. It's not about perfection, but the constant pursuit of it. Gentlemen are not stiff, pretentious, or focused, or elevating themselves. Instead, they strive to succeed while helping those around them, us, succeed. Indeed, you possess all the qualities that earn you the title of gentleman. And bear with me, please. I think these are important. Generous. Jed, a gentleman is generous with his time, wisdom, and resources. He looks for ways to help others. Thank you. Positive. A gentleman chooses to be positive. You are always quick with a well-deserved compliment. Thank you. Civil. Jed, a gentleman embraces civility by valuing all others and all people's perspectives and treating everyone with respect. Thank you. Well-mannered. Gentlemen can navigate effortlessly all social and professional settings with confidence. Hardworking, that goes without mention. A gentleman possesses a strong work ethic, and clearly you've demonstrated that. Sharp appearance. I can't vouch during Zoom, but I'm pretty sure from the waist up, he always looked good. The waist down, where the jury's still out. You're an effective communicator. You're always very well-spoken and a focused listener. You're confident. And most importantly, Jed, you're a person of integrity, of true integrity. A gentleman does the right thing even when no one is watching. He's not swayed by peer pressure or popular opinion. He maintains the highest ethical standard. And Jed, that describes you to a T. Jed, you're a true inspiration, and I'm grateful to have served with you. I'm deeply appreciative to all you have shared, as well as your kindness and patience, and I can only say thank you for all that you've done and for your service to the city of Lake Forest.
Jed, I'm going to start with a little quote. Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship. And I will echo my fellow colleagues here in sharing all of the financial success that the city has had due to your leadership. Thank you for your time, talent, energy, and efforts to our city. It's been a really great pleasure getting to know you and Kate and working together towards a common goal of preserving our traditions and yet making changes for the betterment of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Alderman Morse, we're not going to let you speak quite yet, so I know that's hard to pause, but we are going to move on next. Alderman Rummel, if you wouldn't mind stepping down.
Rummel Road.
Probably already have that
Will
one.
be a companion piece.
Oh, yeah.
We'll go with the other
Mike and I
one.
are opening up a whole neighborhood.
Tree certificate.
Rummel's Bay.
Meadow and Rummel's Way.
And I'm going to kick it off again, but I will just note, in light of hearing Alderman Gashgarian's point, we're going to mix up the order a little bit so that the third and fourth ward are not always last. So when I'm done with a few comments, I'll turn it over again to Mayor Pandelian, and then we'll start with Alderman Notes from there. So Alderman Rummel, I know you did a tremendous job running through a lot of the highlights and accomplishments of the Sustainability Committee earlier this evening, and I won't run through those again. But as both you and Mayor Pandelian noted, I think the most important legacy you leave in the context of your passion and commitment to environmental sustainability is really in changing the entire culture of our organization. And the fact that you were able to do that in such short time really is an incredible testament, again, to your passion and devotion. Changing culture isn't easy, and to do so in fairly short order is even more difficult. But I can speak on behalf of the staff in saying, watching discussions regarding capital planning or even just rethinking our daily operations, we truly view it now through the lens of how we can do so as better stewards of our environment. And while Lake Forest as a community has always had a commitment to nature, the reality is it hasn't always been as intuitive as part of our city government in the past. And so truly, thank you for that legacy you leave in helping us rethink how we go about doing our jobs and how we invest in infrastructure in this community. As others have said, it's a legacy that will live on for many, many years to come. Also, just more broadly too, I do want to just applaud you for the passion and energy that you brought to this role. Your love of this community, I think, was evident to everybody who had the opportunity to work with you. And you fought for what you believed in, and you made reasoned arguments in favor of those positions. And sometimes you did so in the face of occasional opposition, and that's not easy to do, but I think it's a testament to your strength and your conviction, and so we applaud you for that. And then finally, I just want to thank you on a personal level too, particularly earlier in my tenure. One of the things that I really enjoyed in our conversations was your ability to bring historical context into discussions we were having at the city level. It is evident, I think, to anyone who knows you, your knowledge and understanding of the history of this community is really remarkable, and it was an incredible asset and benefit to me when I was new and didn't know a lot, to have you providing some of that wisdom and knowledge. And so on a personal level, thank you, and again, we wish you all the best in the next chapter. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mayor Pandeleon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Well, having heard that, in my prior comments, I mean, you were the perfect person to kick off the Environmental Sustainability Committee, and you brought a tremendous amount of passion to it, a lot of energy. You are a very, very hardworking person, and not everybody wants to work that hard, so it's sometimes hard to keep up with you. But it was a huge accomplishment, and just as Jason alluded to, when you believed in something, you were passionate. You worked hard, super hard at it, outworked everybody else, and you were tenacious. And as a result, you got a lot done. So thank you for that, and thank you for so ably kicking off this new committee, which has been so effective.
Thank you.
Alderman Oates?
Melanie, I'm not sure I've ever shared this with you, but we actually first met in your kitchen when Mike was running, and we were stuffing
aldermen.
stuffing mailings. It's hard to believe that's been almost 20 years now.
Kitchen looks the same, too.
It has been an absolute joy working alongside with you for the last 3.5 years representing the Second Ward. When you share that responsibility, I feel like I'm privy to perhaps a lot more insight into how you work as an alderman as I would necessarily with the other aldermen. We're getting copied by the same residents on many of the same concerns, and you certainly set a fantastic example of how to represent the Second Ward residents and the City Council's interests for everything you could possibly do. And oftentimes resident concerns don't necessarily align with what the city can either do or should do for them. It's a balancing act, but with every response that I've been a part of that communication, you put a lot of good thought into communicating their concerns to staff and representing that back to the constituents when doesn't necessarily go the way that they want. You can't make everybody happy, but I admire the work you've done, as I said, representing our ward and the city. 6 years is not a long time to get really anything done. But as Jason and George will be reiterated by our colleagues, the passion that you gave to representing and making sure City Council was aware of the necessity for us to keep environmental sustainability and just protecting that and encouraging that and in our awareness to make sure that as we're operating into the future, that we don't lose sight of that. And while your 6 years was short, I know without any question that legacy will be left here on City Council to build upon. Thank you for all you've done, and it's been a joy getting to know you as a friend, and look forward to, this is certainly not the end, but.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you.
Melanie, thank you for your service to the city. Special thank you for your leadership on the Environmental Sustainability Committee. I mean, it was really a startup. I mean, it was, how do we build a committee and a workflow that's kind of an overlay on public works and some of the capital investment decisions that are made in other committees. So it was no easy task to kind of pull it off and to organize it. And, you started with, let's have a mission and a vision, and you brought in a consultant and you facilitated a conversation, and you kind of gave it some guardrails to make it grow, so kind of no pun intended. But it's safe to say that without you, there really is no environmental sustainability committee. It just wouldn't have happened. So from improving our recycling program, through BART, the CART program, to baselining our city's carbon footprint, to building the community garden, to debating whether or not we should ban coal tar sealant or single-use plastics or gas-powered leaf blowers. We talked about a lot of different things that could impact our community, and to your really principled stance against turf fields. You really led the charge to make Lake Forest more environmentally aware, conscious, and sustainable. You always listened to constituents and had them front and center in all of your deliberations. And again, thank you for your service on that committee and to the city, and best of luck in your future endeavors.
Thank you, John.
Once again, Jason has stole some of our thunder. Sorry. I think when we talk about Melanie Rummel, I think it's fair and appropriate that we should talk about historical context. Melanie is a true servant of the town that she grew up in, the town that she loves. It's on our webpage, but I think it's only fair and appropriate to acknowledge this at this point. And this is just an abridged version of some of the things that Melanie has done. Alderman Rummel, prior to coming on city council, was a chair of Lake Forest Open Lands. No small accomplishment. She's an active member of the Gorton Community Center Board. No small accomplishment. She was a District 67 school board member and president. No small accomplishment. It's a pretty tough one, too. President of the Women's Board of Catholic Charities of Lake Forest, past president of the Lake County Bar Association. She obviously was the inaugural chair of the Environmental Sustainability Committee, and I won't go into any great detail because I knew by the time it got to me, it would already be said. But Melanie, thank you for doing that and successfully imprinting that culture on this council and on our community. But speaking of history, I thought it would be fun, and I mean this genuinely. Melanie, you grew up in town, as did Ted, as did Jim, as did I, as did Eileen and many of you out there. But I thought it would be fun for us to reflect upon this city and change and think about some of those things. And some of you may not get this, but I know those of us up here will. I'm going to give you some easy ones first. I'm going to mention something and think about it in historical context and now. Lake Forest Beach, then and now. O'Neill's Hardware Store,
Yeah. Creaky floors.
right? The Deer Path Theater.
Yeah.
I hate to admit it, that's where I had my first beer.
Upstairs? The upstairs part?
No comment. Little Red Hen,
Yeah.
Woolworth's Five and Dime, the Lake Forest Historical Society, Sunset Foods, the original building,
Yep.
as well as Fiore's Nursery, Swarthout's gas station. Remember that? Lakeside Foods,
Red carpets.
Robertson's Clothing Store, Wenban Buick and Funeral Home. I knew Jack Wenban, that just never really, I just couldn't figure
I knew
that
Jack
one out.
too, yeah.
Blanchard's Lumber and Gravel. Burger King,
Yeah.
and then Lake Forest Hospital. The point I'm trying to make here is you and I, as well as others on council, have seen this city change and grow for the better. We've continued to manage change thoughtfully, and you've been no small part of that. We've preserved the unique characteristics of Lake Forest without living in the past and always looking towards the future. The best is yet to come. And I do want to thank you for all that you've contributed, not just to this council or to city government, but to the community as a whole. Thank you for your service.
Don't just think, you have to take action. The world is changed by your example, not by your opinion. Melanie, you've not only led by example with your commitment to environmental sustainability, but you've made a difference. Many of my colleagues and I will share that. It's been enlightening to work with you on the ESC, and I'm so proud of the initiatives that you've driven forward with gusto and passion. And I look forward to seeing where this legacy will continue, whether it's myself serving in a similar role or fellow council members along with us. Thank you for your time, talent, energy, and efforts for the city of Lake Forest.
Thank you. I'm last.
I will go. Mic here. So Melanie, as you retire as an alderman, I think back of our 6 years on the council and so grateful for your service to the community, which often goes unsung over the years. But your dedication, your hard work, your commitment to improving the community has made I think, a measurable impact on our city. As people have said, you've demonstrated, probably because of the historic context that we just talked about, but the deep understanding of Lake Forest issues that come before us, and during your tenure, you've worked to find solutions that would benefit everybody, not just a few. I think your work, we talked about the Environmental Committee, but also promoting economic development, and one that hasn't come up yet, but has always been on the forefront of your discussions with me, which is how do we get the property tax lower? Always on the front. We always count on you to come forward with those questions. It's a great legacy for the community. Your consistent, unstinting research has been mentioned about issues that were under discussions. Your ability to communicate about those issues, your details of your research about those issues, were always well-versed and really helped us in voting on those matters. So your work ethic, I think, has inspired future council members coming up, right, guys? There's a lot you can do with hard work and diligence. So thank you for your many years of service. It's been 6 years, doesn't seem like it's been very, very long, actually. It's been pretty fast. So I wish you the best in the years ahead, and I look forward to keeping up with you and Mike, and seeing how things go forward in the years ahead. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jen. It's been a
It's
pleasure.
been great.
Well, I'm glad I'm last because you guys covered everything. And what I can say is that I knew Melanie before I joined council and Mike, and have always enjoyed a friendship with both of, Kent and I have enjoyed a friendship with the two of you, and this has just made it better. Your example is teaching me how to behave, how to research, how to advocate, how to become an effective council person. And for that, I'm grateful. So thank you for teaching me the ropes and for reaching out and making me feel welcome and giving me an opportunity to discuss things that I needed to talk through to understand where I wanted to be on an issue or in any event. I've thoroughly enjoyed spending this time with you this year. It's really been great. And I thank you very much for making me feel a part of things.
Oh, you're very welcome. I wish our time together could be longer.
Me too.
Thank you. Well, last but not least, Mr. Mayor, you're up. And this is not the mayor's first yard sign. So wow. This one. Or street sign, excuse me. Get more yards.
It's one of those fine. Good over there.
Try to be more efficient in the opening process as we learned here. Oh.
Safety.
My famous four
S's.
which is why people keep moving here.
What did it say? Wait, you have to show us.
Safety, safety, school, and space.
And then this is the more conventional side.
Okay, well, didn't know quite where to begin with this one. I think, Mr. Mayor, your tenure has been unorthodox in many ways compared to those who've come before you, in large part because of the sheer number of curveballs that seem to continue to have been thrown your way and the city's way. Not the least of which was starting your tenure with a brand new city manager, the first mayor in nearly 30 years who had that challenge. And early in my tenure, I knew next to nothing about the city, about this organization, and appreciated your patience through all of that. And then, of course, less than a year into your tenure, COVID happened. And I'm not going to go through the laundry list of other items and issues and challenges that we faced in the months and years since then. But I will say that while only 4 years, I think in a lot of ways your tenure could be looked at in dog years just by the sheer number of things that seemingly came up 1 month
It was
after
6-2 when
another.
this all started. So.
Yeah, well, and I'll say, unlike more traditional significant challenge of infrastructure failures or even natural disasters, a lot of the challenges you had to face as mayor were unique and unprecedented, and there was no playbook for how to handle these things. And it is a real testament, I think, to your leadership and your instincts that we really managed to navigate all of them appropriately, quickly, and almost always with the right outcome as well. And again, I think to be successful in that role requires a nuance that you really seemed to have a mastery of, watching you be able to step back in these meetings and allow council space to discuss and debate issues, but then also regularly stepping up and being the face of our community when the community needed leadership. Again, finding that balance is not easy, and I think, again, you really did it in a remarkable way. And if there's one thing I think about in how you approach the position, it was really in your belief that protecting and preserving the city's governance model was always more important than achieving any one specific outcome. And I think that's always been a hallmark of Lake Forest city government, but I really think you personified that and really understood the big picture. And then, last but not least, I just want to say on a personal note how much I appreciate all that you've done for me and my career. The mayor-city manager relationship is a unique one, and there's a lot of time spent, navigating issues, big and small, putting out fires, some very visible, some no one will ever know about except you and I sometimes. But I hope you know very sincerely that the last 4 years in the trenches with you, there's really no one I could have envisioned doing it with. And again, I'm very grateful for having spent these last 4 years with you. I consider you not just a colleague and a confidant, but a friend as well. So thank you for everything.
Well, thank you. And a lot of the good ideas and things that happened here in the last 4 years, I got credit for, but Jason started them. So, so I'll just leave it at that. But it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And you're going to go on for a long time, I think, in this role. So
Much appreciated. And with that, we're going to start with Alderman Weber.
It's rare for
Sorry,
the
Era.
fourth ward to start, so thank you for this opportunity. George, I remember interviewing you for alderman when I was on the caucus committee many years ago. And now I've had the opportunity to serve with you for the last 3 years. It all started on Zoom, and finally we got to be in person. Residents have asked me, what does a mayor really do? And I simply describe your role as a ringmaster of a circus. You work with many audiences, city staff, residents, other elected officials, and you manage all the acts by leading council meetings and presenting projects and initiatives with lots of varying personalities and styles of delivery in comments. Sometimes your gavel is like a riding whip, keeping order and peace in the chambers. I believe the best type of a mayor is one who seeks to uplift people and make their quality of life better, and sometimes that requires tough decisions. The true privilege of being a mayor is that you have the opportunity to be everyone's neighbor, and you've shown that. I've marveled at your dedication to your work and your commitment to our city. Your positive impact on this city will be felt for a long time to come because of your leadership and long-term vision. Thank you for sharing many years of time, talent, energy, and efforts. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Much appreciated. Who's next?
I'm going to take the gavel. So George, your time as mayor has come to a close, but it's really with deep gratitude for the decades of service that you've given to the community and all kinds of commissions and boards, looking for ways to help the community get better and a richer place for people to live. You have a vision and a desire for excellence. It's made our community better. It's a better place to live, a better place to work, a better place to raise a family. And for the last 4 years, you've worked determinedly through the pandemic. And people may remember during the pandemic that George was the person who instituted the fireside chats to assure the community that life was going to go on, that things are being handled, and not to worry about the city administration or services from for the community. You work diligently on behalf of our stormwater management. We've talked about that. But you're constantly lobbying the county and the state governments for grant funding. And it's made a big difference. So our Deer Path 41 stormwater system up on Western Avenue, what I call the deep tunnel, was thanks to you. And the many ravine projects that have been happening and will continue to happen in the years ahead. There's the beach, saving Forest Park after the landslide on the North Beach Access Road. Just a few examples of your leadership for the city. You've had integrity for the council, patience for the council. Your dedication and work ethic has made the body a much more effective one over these years. So as you prepare to leave, you will be deeply missed. So thank you very much for all your hard work.
Thanks, Jed.
Once, at least I'm not last, but everything everybody has already said and will continue to say, of course, is reiterated. I've known George, Kent and I have known George and my maid, Peggy, for a number of years. We so enjoyed getting to know you when you and Kent were both aldermen and seeing you at Ravinia. So I feel like I know a different side of George than just on the council. And I've always found you to just be fun. And you were so wonderful when I first came on. I was the only new person. I really felt like I was kind of floating around here. The first thing that happened was the phone rang and it was George saying, come on, let's go have breakfast. And it was wonderful. And I can't thank you enough for that. And then learning how much you have done, how many boards, commissions, committees, ad hoc committees, the amount of time you have given to this city is unbelievable. It really is a remarkable thing. And we are so grateful. We are so lucky to have had your input all these years on so many different levels in so many different capacities. Thank you for that. Thank you. I didn't know that. I just thought you were fun. But there's way more going on here.
Now you found out I'm not fun at all, right?
Yes, you are fun. Yes, you are fun. But it's really been a delight knowing you all these years, but also seeing you in this capacity. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I certainly still, not many people know that Nancy served as the unpaid interim executive director of the Gorton Community Center for about 8 months
Through the
when it
troubles.
was bankrupt and had no money, and she did that out of the goodness of her heart.
I think
And,
Kent thought I was bored, but it all worked out.
Worked out just fine.
thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Am I next? Well, George, today I've been sort of thinking about our mutual friend Barbara Garrity and Don Kovalevich, members of the Second Ward and friends we have in common. And then the other thing that came to mind was running into you in the second row of the Paul McCartney concert.
When I was supposed to be at a city council meeting.
At Wrigley Field. Just some sort of fun little things from our past. But you are another in a long and distinguished line of Ward 2 mayors. You know, I think of, recently Howard Kerr and Mike. But as a son of the ward, you've done us proud. It must be something maybe in the Ward 2 water. We have special mayor juice in there somehow. Thank you, as has been said, for your leadership through the pandemic. Your newfound YouTube celebrity provided reassurance to residents in what was truly an unprecedented time. And you really gathered the troops, and you must have thought and worked a long time. And how do we lead the community through this difficulty? And you did it well. We all looked forward to those YouTube presentations that you made, and it really did help us all. Thank you for your financial oversight as we handled the pension crisis. I know you had a large hand in that. And again, thank you for your foresight in creating the environmental sustainability and giving me the opportunity that you did. You should certainly feel gratified in the knowledge that you've left the city with a renewed vibrancy and almost a renaissance in the central business district. I think we all feel it. And I can remember driving through downtown Lake Forest years ago before you were mayor and thinking it was looking kind of tired and kind of dead. And in the past several years, that has really turned around, and a lot of it is due to your efforts. So thank you. And most of all, thank you for your past volunteerism in our community and all that you've done, and for once again raising your hand for these past 4 years to undertake what is not an easy job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melanie. I appreciate that. It's-
All right, George, I got a couple pages here, so bear with me. And don't look at these notes here,
I
okay?
can't see them, they're too small.
George,
Sight's not that good.
thank you for your 30 years of service to Lake Forest, and congratulations on a job well done. Yours is a remarkable run, which will likely never be matched for both its longevity and the positive impact that you have had on our community. You really are a one-of-a-kind Lake Forest City volunteer. For those that don't know, George received the Lawrence R. Temple Distinguished Public Service Award for all of his volunteer contributions to Lake Forest before he even became mayor 4 years ago. The plaque is right outside of the door in the hallway and only has 10 people on it. Starting in 1989, over a 25-year time frame prior to being mayor, and I did list it out, George served 6 years on the Zoning Board of Appeals, 2 years as a chair, 6 years on the Plan Commission, 4 years as chair, 6 years as the Second Ward Alderman, served as finance chair, also served on Property and Public Lands Committee in the PCA and the Audit Committee, 2 years as interim chairman of the Gorton Board through its revitalization. Many 6-month stints on various ad hoc task forces for the city. Had to get all this stuff from Biddy, thank you today. The ad hoc task force for the Preservation Task Force, which laid the foundation for the creation of Lake Forest Historic Preservation Commission. Chairman of the ad hoc Aloha Farm Committee to study the property and its tenants, and the ad hoc Central Business District Task Force to rezone the district as well as upgrade the zoning code's special use permit standards. So this, gets to Alderman Rummel's point on the revitalization. You were part of trying to do that almost your whole tenure. There are probably others, but you get the point. 25 years of impactful service to the community before becoming mayor in 2019 and serving for 4 more years. If we kept track of the total time, volunteer hours in the city of Lake Forest, George would be our Wayne Gretzky.
He makes more money.
It's just a remarkable run. Thank you on behalf of all of us for your volunteer service to Lake Forest. Now, you often say humbly that it's an honor and a duty to be mayor. Well, it was an honor to serve with you these past 4 years. You also say that as mayor, you play the cards that you've been dealt. And I'm pretty sure there was a time or two that you felt like you not just had a duty, but you had a double or maybe even a triple duty. And it's safe to say that you were not dealt an easy royal flush or full house, and over the past 4 years, you received occasional wild card. But you never wavered or folded. You played the hand you were dealt with strong leadership, calm under pressure, integrity, and always with the eye towards doing what's in the best long-term interest of Lake Forest, both current and future residents. You turned any challenging cards into opportunities and accomplished many, many important things for our community. And for that, we are extremely, extremely grateful. Now, I did actually list all the cards, Jason. You said there were too many, but they're so impressive that I got to list them. Number one, retirement of a Hall of Fame 20-year tenured city manager and the recent hire of a new rookie who's been on the job for 4 months. The need to retain key senior staff and for longer-term transition planning. Several challenges on a few of our boards and commissions. The library dilemma. Should we fix a dome first or build a brand-new building? The need to fix subpar playing fields underwater while games are being canceled, to turf or not to turf, is the question. The beach bluff slope still needs more attention. We could lose 30 feet of trees and tableland just restored 7 years ago. A person in a car getting trapped in the water underneath 41 of the viaduct. How do we get $12 million of state funding to fix it? Major flooding issues on Burr Oak and the need for an innovative solution and grant financing. The tragic murder of George Floyd and the spontaneous march and vigil planned in Lake Forest from Deer Path Middle School to Market Square 4 days after the governor ordered the National Guard into Chicago to restore order. The tragic murders in Highland Park on July 4th, the immediate police response, the grieving and the sorrow, and the lasting impact to all of our communities. Developers and residents suing the city. Caucus contested elections in 2019 and 21 and 2023. And the need to update our CBD comprehensive plan. How best to proactively manage future development in keeping with our city's unique historical character while adding to its vibrancy and economic growth. Oh, and did I mention a global corona pandemic virus and all the challenges that presented? That's number 15 on all those challenges. Do we close the beach? Should we open restaurants? Libertyville did. How do we get vaccines to residents? How many PSA videos do we need? How will city operations function? And what will be the impact to our finances? Did I miss anything? I mean, probably. But seriously, any one of these cards would have been enough to make any mayor's tenure challenging. Any mayor's tenure challenging. And you faced many simultaneously and all in quick succession. You handled them all with grace and calm under pressure. You always advocated for what was in the best long-term interest for our community. You patiently listened to others and took decisive actions to do what's right and not worry about who's right. In short, you were a great mayor. God bless you and your family, especially Peggy, for her support. And thank you for your outstanding service to the City of Lake Forest over all these years.
Thanks, Jim. You just took my whole speech. It's okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Jack, I knew I should have gone first. You hit all my points, Jim. Well,
You should bring up the Wildlife Discovery Center.
You know, you have 3 minutes, and
well,
if somebody in
I'm
front
gonna,
of you
I'm gonna be,
said something-
I'm gonna be brief, you know.
I agree with that
I think
guy.
the best analogy is George pulled the inside straight. Dealt all the hands that he was dealt. He did an incredible job. First off, Peg, thank you so much for lending us George these last 4 years and then cumulatively 30. Paula, a future thanks to you because the gentleman sitting next to you, we're looking forward to having him. So thank you in advance. George, I don't know if you and Peg have heard of Henry Kaiser. Have you? Okay, and I thought I would go to some business quotes. For those of you who may not know, George and Peg, I believe you met while you were at Kellogg. Is that correct? Henry J. Kaiser said, "Problems are only opportunities in work clothes." And George, you had a long list of opportunities. You really did. And for many of those that Alderman Preschlack articulated, and I'm just going to hit a few of them, you know, the COVID healthcare crisis, the peaceful social protests, and specifically the BLM vigil, the horrible events of July 4th in Highland Park, the ongoing public pension crisis and continued thoughtful management, the Deer Path athletic field discussion, managing a city council full of strong opinions and personalities. I think the term, "it's like herding cats," is most appropriate. And George, you did it wonderfully. The countless infrastructure improvements, enhancing relationships with county and state officials, mitigating litigation, enhancing communications. Again, we talked about YouTubing. You are now an influencer in local government. All that, and still increasing the economic vibrancy. Somebody has yet to mention 1,400 new families that moved into our community. And really the upward trajectory that we're in. And George, again, you had your hand on each and every one of those things, and it was just a masterful job. On a personal level, for me, you've always been willing to listen. Thank you. You've maintained your patience. You're willing to offer advice, share your perspectives, and work in a collaborative fashion. And I know that no matter what, you would always do what was in the best interests of the city of Lake Forest. You've truly been an inspiration and are a true leader of individuals. You truly are. I'm grateful for the opportunity to have served with you, and I'm going to leave you with one more quote by Peter Drucker. You recognize that name?
Sure do.
Okay. Management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right thing. And thank you for doing the right thing. Thank you, George. Godspeed.
It's been a pleasure.
It's-
Yeah, it just, there's no way to encapsulate better than my colleagues have already said, George. And for as long as Tiffany and I have been back in Lake Forest, you've been that presence here in one capacity or another. And there's, as Jim highlighted all the accomplishments, there are few who can say they've touched on all of these facets to help improve the city. I consider myself especially fortunate that we share the same profession, and so you and I have crossed paths for many years at functions, and certainly when you decided to retire from that aspect of your life, I had the benefit of continuing that relationship with you here on city council. You, as Eileen pointed out, the best word that I think encapsulates it is ringleader. A lot of times we're all rowing the oars the same direction. That's not always the case, but you kept us on course. It's been a real honor serving with you, and I look forward to continuing to see what's next in George's life and how we're all going to benefit from it. Thank you, George.
Thanks, Ted. I'm sure they won't let me get away that easy.
And so at this time, I had noted former Alderman Karas is here, and she had the privilege of serving with all three of the outgoing elected officials, as well as Alderman Bushman, who left the city council just a few short weeks ago. She had asked to provide a few comments here, so I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you, Jason. It is so nice to be back, if that's okay. Well, whether it is or isn't, I thought it would be remiss if I didn't come back while the three of you, and Ray, who's not here tonight, are departing your terms. So thank you, Jason, for the opportunity to speak tonight, to recognize my former colleagues concluding their terms today. It's a true honor to serve and work alongside Jed, Ray, Melanie, and George for the 2 years I represented the first ward. Jed, my fellow Ward 1 alderman, I'll be with you. From the first call you made to congratulate me while you were on holiday, I believe, I was struck by your gentleman, statesman-like qualities. You were always available and patient, ready to answer questions while I prepared for my role, and offering guidance on numerous occasions once my term began. It was a challenging time, working and collaborating by phone and Zoom that first year or more. I consulted and confided in you for all the reasons anyone would. You were very smart, sincere, sensible, and astute. We together dealt with a host of matters in our ward, some more challenging and contentious than others, and we responded and met with constituents to address their small and large concerns. When we introduced Lake Forest Station, you and your wife, Kate, frequently visited and offered praise and ideas for future projects. You were always supportive and enthusiastic of all of our marketing initiatives, and I knew I could rely on you for your honest feedback and on every subject about which we spoke. You chaired the Finance Committee with the confidence of a Fortune 100 CEO. I marveled at your command of a complex city budget and your ability to make it interesting and relatively easy to understand. So thank you.
Thank you.
Melanie, the first time we sat down together was before Eileen and I were sworn in. It was okay. We met for lunch and the three of us covered many subjects, including our mutual love for horses and riding. You are the quintessential leader, and Lake Forest has been so fortunate to benefit from your contributions on many boards, and it's all of you. You prioritize your responsibility as a leader of this community in many ways. Whether it be reviewing minutes, packets, testimony, gathering background from staff, or spearheading and leading the vitally important environmental sustainability committee. You approach your commitments with the utmost integrity, professionalism, and authenticity. Many conversations we had over the course of 2 years were always focused and thorough, due to your legal training, I presume. I knew I could rely on you to help me decipher ordinances and other complex documents. You were also an advocate for the new marketing programs we proposed and publicly endorsed them. We both think about our role as mentors and how to inspire young Lake Forest residents to think of ways they can improve our community. One of my favorite visits with you was to Lake Forest High School, to sit down with a few seniors concerned about the rise in teen e-cigarette use and the documented effects it has on their academic and athletic performance. I hope more students will think of ways to improve their lives by challenging societal issues. It was a real privilege since I wanted to study you. George, we first met pre-pandemic at the Deer Path Inn. It's been a good part of our conversation talking about Martha's Vineyard. I couldn't believe the mayor of Lake Forest had a connection with the place I too spent summers visiting and working. And we share a second connection in Kenyon College, your alma mater, and the wonderful school our daughter Blythe attends and is with me across. Team, by the way, 16-0, and takes on Denison against the NCAC championship, this Saturday before heading into the NCAA tournament. We did talk business that morning, and you graciously welcomed me to City Council. There was a lot to achieve, particularly attracting young families to Lake Forest. We, like most Lake Foresters, know our town is one of the best places to live and raise children in the country, yet the real estate market struggled at that time for years against the draw of other North communities. Until the pandemic hit, and Lake Forest swag took on a whole new meaning. Lake Forest experienced one of the fastest, greatest turnaround in residential real estate history. You gave me the opportunity to establish and lead a stellar marketing committee, and were actively involved in support of our work, getting behind a host of new ideas that came to life. You appointed me to several committees and asked me to stay involved with Koya as its liaison to City Council. I appreciated all of those responsibilities and thank you for providing them. Enjoyed the chance to work together on behalf of the residents and the city of Lake Forest. Thank you very much, George.
Thank you.
And now finally, our chance to hear from the men and women of the hour here tonight. I'm going to start by turning it over to you, Alderman Morris.
Thank you. It's been a rewarding 6 years as an alderman, and I'm actually pleased that I've had a chance to help build a community for the future. I think we're in the best financial shape, as we've mentioned, financially and administratively, that we've been in recent memory. But we've talked a lot about us. I'd like to talk more about the city staff, who have labored over the last 6 years to really make a big impact on our community. We could start with the transition from our longtime city manager, Bob Kiley, to the new recruit, Jason Wisha. That's been a tremendous success, and it's been rewarding to see how you've been able to make that transition. I want a very big thank you to our public safety chiefs, Police Chief Waldorf and Fire Chief Siebert. I want to thank you for keeping everybody so safe over the last 6 years. It's been a lot of hard work on the part of your teams. And I'd just like to mention, Chief Siebert has responsibility for the ambulances. There have been 12,000 ambulance runs in the last 6 years where the paramedics went out to help our residents. Just amazing, so thank you. Going back to economic development, Director Cerniak, I want to thank you for all the new restaurants in town, 2 world-class restaurants, the investment in the Bears, $100 million in their facility out there, all the things you've done. And we talked about the number of new families that have come into town over these 6 years. And I went back to our financials and looked at the average home values in that 6 years have increased 40% in those 6 years. And it's because of all these people that you've helped move into town. Director Swarthout and your staff, the rebuilding the South Park, the beach access road, the Deer Path Golf Course has come back with the new clubhouse, the halfway house, the cart paths, the pitch and putt practice areas. And now you're going back to work on the bluffs and creating the all-weather playing fields behind middle school. And Director Thomas, we've talked about the stormwater management, but we haven't mentioned about the water plant improvements that you made that are going to serve the community so well into the future. It's a valuable, critical water supply that we have the benefit of, and you're taking such good care of it. So thank you. And then just finally, as finance chairman, I wanted to say thank you to Director Holub. She completely replaced our financial systems. They're better than ever. She worked on the public pension funding model, which is an enviable, sustainable funding model. The financial transparency that we've talked about, the 6 consecutive years of exceptional recognition from the Government Finance Officers Association, the 6 years of AAA bond rating, the helping maintain the lowest municipal property tax in northeastern Illinois, and 6 years of exceptionally generous capital budgeting through meticulous planning and expanded grant funding. So thank you to the city staff and to the 2 mayors, George and Rob, who have been mayor during those 6 years. To my alderman friends, it's been a privilege, and I know you care deeply about the community and shows the commitment that you have for standing in and working through all these issues we've referenced tonight. I believe that Melanie and I are handing over our alderman's jobs when the city's in a pretty enviable condition. And then finally, I want to thank my spouse, Kate, and my family for their continued encouragement and support through all these 6 years. We know the town is filled with passionate individuals who care deeply about our community, but it's been great to have this experience, and thank you very much. So, thank you.
I want to thank the City of Lake Forest and its residents for the privilege of serving our community these past 6 years. Thank you for allowing me to feel my time spent on the council has been in some way consequential. Whether it is or not, others can decide. Most of all, I'm thankful for the incredible wisdom of our residents, the well of information, expertise, and individuals willing to share their information and expertise to help our community truly makes that well overflow. And it's been a source of inspiration throughout my years of service, whether it's the members of Green Minds, the League of Women Voters Environmental Committee, or the Garden Club sharing their insight and expertise to help the Environmental Sustainability Committee, the members of the Senior Citizens Commission that I served on sharing their insight and expertise as we discussed affordable senior housing, the members of the Legal Committee I served on and working together with them and our city attorney on the ethics ordinance rewrite. Your input is not only essential but a community treasure that should be acknowledged and nurtured. No one on this dais has all the answers, and your input should always be encouraged in this room as well as online. My greatest privilege has been meeting with you, sometimes in your homes, to discuss and take a first-hand look at issues or simply replying to your concerns via email. It doesn't mean I always voted in your favor, but at least we had a dialogue, and I listened. I hope you felt heard. One of my regrets is that with the interruption of COVID, we did not meet more often and have more ward meetings. Almost without exception, these discussions were also polite and respectful throughout the years, which is a credit to our residents, regardless of how passionate they may have felt about an issue. So if I may give parting words of advice to the new mayor and incoming aldermen, it would be engage. Engage with our residents, not just those who are our neighbors and friends already, or travel in your same age group or social circles, but with all our residents. Otherwise, you risk leaving one of the greatest resources of our community untapped, and that is our residents and their incredible knowledge and wisdom. I felt I learned the most when I ran in a contested election to win my first term of office, and I was invited into the homes of many residents for coffee. I listened to them. It was an invaluable experience. The insights I gained from that experience carried me throughout my terms as alderman. And thank you to the professional staff of our city. The little secret is that this city would run pretty darn well without any of us here on the dais. Our role is really to point the direction and then get out of the way. The staff is so professional and so talented. And thank you for your role also in staying on board and guiding us through the transition to a new city manager. It was essential to our community. As I mentioned the other night, it's a truly wonderful feeling to know the staff wants us to succeed in our roles, and they work tirelessly, often making themselves available late at night, early in the morning, and over the weekends to make us look good. I know I've tapped into that many times with many of you, and thank you for your understanding and patience. I applaud each of you for your jobs well done, and thank you for being the wind in our sails and beneath our wings. And thank you again for often smiling and nodding encouragement from the chairs when we're giving a report or a presentation to residents, so we know that we're on the right track at least and giving the right information. I will miss you all and credit any success I may have experienced in this role to you all and to our residents. Thank you for this opportunity of a lifetime to serve our community.
Thank you. Okay. This will be. I have about 4 pages of accomplishments that I wanted to read. I think they've all been hit. There are a couple that were left out, but before I do that, I want to, apropos of some of the things that have been said tonight, when I first became mayor, or was about to become mayor, some friends of ours gave me a little plaque. It's a quote from Lyndon Johnson. And it says, "When the duties of the presidency seem particularly oppressive and overwhelming, I stop and I think to myself, it could be worse. I could be a mayor." That is a true quote. So it's been quite a ride. This all started, as a couple of people mentioned, 30 years ago with a little card that came in the mail from the Lake Forest Caucus for an open call, which I foolishly filled out and sent in. And about 2 years later, they put me on the zoning board, and that was 1993, I think, and it's sort of never looked back from there. You know, we all know, because we all live here, this is an extraordinary place to live. It's an extraordinary city. The quality of life is just off the charts here. Most people wouldn't even imagine being on vacation here, and we get to live here. It's been a huge privilege to be able to serve the city. I expect to continue. I doubt they're going to let me get away this easily. I'll certainly entertain things that come along. My colleagues here and all along the way, and I can't even imagine how many people I've become friends with, through all these years of doing all these things. But that's been the best part, really, is just getting to know so many people in town. And there's no better way to get to know somebody than to go, sort of elbow to elbow and work on a project. And I've done that many, many times. And I think in the process, I've certainly gotten to know and become friends with a lot of you out there I see. And I really, that's been the great, hidden benefit to doing all this. And in spite of some challenges, we've accomplished a lot, as you've heard from my colleagues here. They didn't catch them all, though, but I'm not going to go through all the ones. There were a couple of things that got left out that I don't want to forget about. The Lake Forest Now app, which I think over time, and the weekly newsletter, I think we've got the weekly newsletter up to 11,000 recipients, the last number I heard. Oh, it's even more than that? And how many for the app?
A little under 5,000.
So 5,000 out of, and the kids aren't doing it, I don't think, so, take the kids out of it. So those, and, the Ragdale expansion, the regional coalition that we put together to stop the third rail from coming back as an issue. Metro really was pushing that with the federal government, and we put an end to that. We definitely, let me back up for a second. When I started this, people would ask me, what do you want to do as mayor? And the first thing I said was, well, I'd just like it to be kind of a quiet, uneventful term. That turned out not to happen. I said the most important thing of all was to have a smooth transition to the new city manager and make sure that all the staff, I knew we had this unbelievably talented, capable city staff, and I wanted to make sure, because anytime you bring in a new boss, that can really upset the apple cart, as most of us have experienced at some point in our careers. So that was number one, and that actually I'll check off as mission accomplished. Jason has been a huge benefit to the community, and ably followed the legendary Bob Kiley. And then I said, I'm not sure quite how we're going to do this, but I do hear what everybody's saying about the downtown not having enough vibrancy and our real estate market being so weak, and for so long, it was 12 years of really soft real estate market, which is something I'm not sure. Maybe it happened once in the past during the Depression or something, but it was very unusual for Lake Forest not to have people wanting to come to live here. And thanks to Jennifer and her efforts, and a lot of work that Kathy Cerniak did to smooth the pathways for people. I'll give some credit to the 4 S's that you saw on the sign before. I think there's a good reason for people to come here, and it's many of those things. But we were able to attract, coming through COVID, and a little help from COVID. That probably didn't hurt, because people really wanted space, and they didn't want to be in the city anymore, locked in their buildings. But I can't take credit for making it happen, but I'm going to take credit for the fact that it did happen. So those are the things that I was thinking I was going to work on when I started this, and I didn't even know about half the other stuff. I didn't even imagine. I mean, who could have imagined a global pandemic? But I think the most important thing has always been to stay focused on doing what's right for the city long term, not letting distractions get in your way, dealing with them as they come, and trying to turn them as positively as you can. But most important, if you just keep your eye on that ball, things tend to turn out pretty well. doing the right thing is, figuring out what the right thing is sometimes isn't so easy, but if you focus on what's best for the city as a whole, it tends to work out pretty well. And so having said all that, I just want to thank, all the citizens of Lake Forest for having confidence in me all these years, but especially these last 4. And when it could have been, a lot of people might not have had confidence in me or anybody else in this role during some of the things we were going through. I want to thank this city council for being supportive. The tendency is to focus on the areas where there was disagreement. I can only think of maybe 2 or 3 of those in 4 years. And all those other accomplishments that have been, rattled off tonight, those all happened, through all these challenges. And the city has made enormous strides. And so, and also, and I touched on this before, the city staff here, I would take this team and if we had to go run a company on short notice, I would just hire all of these people and bring them with me. I mean, it is an enormously talented, hardworking, professional, capable, creative group of people. And as Melanie pointed out, I think, like she said, this place could run for quite a while without any of us up here. So I also would be terribly remiss if I didn't say thank you to my best friend, my wife Peggy, who has put up with a lot of things nobody else had to put up with. Lots of time gone. And then, you come home at night and it's not over for a couple hours sometimes. And so she always gave me a hug and listened to me vent. Sometimes celebrate. But, it was a lot of good times and some challenges. And so thank you so much for always being supportive and loving me. So thanks, everyone. All right, well, that concludes the agenda for the first session. And so I would entertain a motion to adjourn this city council.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'd like to call for the organization of the 2023-2024 Lake Forest City Council. Will the alderman-elect please step forward to be sworn in? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
Terrence Neely. John Powers. Eric Ashburn. Richard Walter.
Having Having been elected to the office of Alderman, repeat after me,
Having been elected to the office of Alderman
of the city of Lake Forest,
of the city of Lake Forest
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
and the state of Illinois,
in the state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois.
and that I will discharge the duties of said office
I will discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my abilities.
to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations. I'd like to invite Mayor-elect, Mayor-elect Stanford Tech to step forward and be sworn in. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I stand for tech.
Having been elected to the office of mayor
Having been elected to the office of mayor
in the city of Lake Forest,
in the city of Lake Forest,
in the county of Lake,
in the county of Lake,
and the state of Illinois,
state of Illinois,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the state of Illinois,
and that I will discharge the duties of said office
and I will discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Mayor Tech. Thank you.
Can I have a motion to adjourn? Okay. Welcome to the Monday, May 1st, 2023, second session of the Lake Forest City Council. Will the city clerk please call the roll?
Honorable Mayor Tech,
Here.
Alderman Novit,
Here.
Alderman Wheeling,
Here.
Alderman Notes,
Here.
Alderman Powers,
Here.
Alderman Preschlack,
I'm here.
Alderman Gushkarian,
Here.
Alderman Weber,
Here.
Alderman Walter.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is the election and appointment of city officers. City Supervisor, Jason Witcha. City Treasurer, Elizabeth Holub. City Clerk, Margaret Boyer. City Marshal and Collector, Carl Waldorf. City Attorney, Julie Tappendorf. And City Surveyor and Engineer, Gewalt Hamilton Associates. May I have a motion to approve the appointments?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next order of business is comments by mayor. Again, okay. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. First mistake. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now comments by mayor. First and foremost, I'd like to thank you all for coming to help us celebrate the respectful transition of government that Lake Forest has become used to. I'd like to thank a few special attendees, Fathers Natius and Radley. Thank you for your prayers that brought us to this point, and I ask for your prayers going forward for the whole city council and for this recalcitrant Lutheran. The next item is a resolution of appreciation for Ward 1 Alderman James Jed Morris.
Whereas James Jed Morris served as a member of the City Council as First Ward Alderman and as a member of the Finance Committee from May 2017 through May 2023. And whereas during his tenure on the City Council, Jed served on the Personnel, Compensation, and Administration Committee and Lake Forest College Founders Council. He was the city liaison to the Senior Resources Commission and the Audit Committee. He served on the city's pension subcommittee, and he has served as the Finance Committee Chairman since 2017. And whereas prior to his time on City Council, Jed served on the Plan Commission and on the Gorton Board as one of the city directors. And whereas Jed, in addition to his financial expertise, has provided strategic guidance and oversight, validating sound financial practices and fiscal responsibility. And whereas Jed has used his exceptional leadership skills in fostering a collaborative and cohesive environment where the Finance Committee can come together to inspire each other to enhance its overall effectiveness. And whereas Jed took special interest in upholding the city's highest standards of integrity, transparency, and accountability in all financial matters, whereas James Jed Morris devoted much time and careful attention to preserving the character of the city of Lake Forest and the quality of life that residents enjoy here, and whereas the citizens of Lake Forest recognize and deeply appreciate Jed's dedication and service to the community, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Lake Forest, Illinois, hereby expresses the profound gratitude of the citizens of Lake Forest to James Jed Morris for the loyal and faithful public service he has given by means of this resolution, which shall be spread upon the permanent records of the City Council. Adopted by the City Council, the City of Lake Forest, this first day of May 2023.
So moved.
May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Morris. The next item on the agenda is a resolution of appreciation for Ward 2 Alderman Melanie K. Rummel. Whereas Melanie K. Rummel served as a member of the City Council as Second Ward Alderman and as a member of the Finance Committee from May 2017 through May 2023. And whereas during her tenure on the City Council, Melanie served on the Public Works Committee, was the City Council liaison to the city's Legal Committee, and served as chairman to the city's newest standing committee, the Environmental Sustainability Committee. And whereas prior to her time on the City Council, Melanie served the community in many ways, including the Legal Committee. She served the community in so many ways, too numerous to mention, offering her insight, passion, and time to the city's Cable TV Commission, serving as the District 67 School Board President and Chairman of the Lake Forest Open Lands Association, to name just a few. And whereas Melanie's passion for environmental sustainability has helped to guide the city toward incorporating environmentally sustainable initiatives in most of its projects, including solar initiatives, ravine restoration, electric vehicle charging stations, stormwater runoff, along with the installation of bioswales and recycling, resulting in the City of Lake Forest receiving the ICMA Program Excellence Award for its Rethink Recycling campaign in 2022. And whereas Melanie K. Rummel devoted much of her time and careful attention to preserving the character of the City of Lake Forest and the quality of life that residents enjoy here. And whereas the citizens of Lake Forest recognize and deeply appreciate Melanie's dedication and service to the community, now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of Lake Forest, Illinois, hereby expresses the profound gratitude of the citizens of Lake Forest to Melanie K. Rummel for the loyal and faithful public service she is given by means of this resolution, which shall be spread upon the permanent records of the City Council. May I have a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ms. Rommel. The next item on the agenda is a resolution of appreciation for George A. Pantaleone, Mayor. Whereas George A. Pantaleone served as a member of the City Council, as its mayor, and as a member of the Finance Committee from May 2019 through May 2023. And whereas during his tenure on the City Council as mayor, George served on the Personnel, Compensation, and Administration Committee and Lake Forest College Founders Council, and he was the City Council liaison to the Public Safety Committee. Whereas prior to his time on the City Council, George served in a variety of roles for 26 years, including the Zoning Board of Appeals with 2 years as its chairman, the Plan Commission with 4 years as its chairman, and Gorton Board as the interim chairman, where he provided leadership for the successful reorganization and revitalization of Gorton. And whereas George has been a driving force in advancing the goals and objectives of the many various boards, committees, and commissions he has served on, exhibiting exemplary leadership skills and fostering collaboration among committee members, making significant positive impacts on our community. And whereas George has consistently displayed integrity, professionalism, and a tireless work ethic in his service to the city of Lake Forest, earning the respect and admiration of his fellow committee members and the community at large. And whereas George has been a true advocate for the interests of our community through his diligent works, helping to shape policies, programs, and initiatives that will have a long-lasting and positive impact on our community. Whereas George A. Pantaleone devoted much time and careful attention to preserving the character of the city of Lake Forest and the quality of life that residents enjoy here. And whereas the citizens of Lake Forest recognize and deeply appreciate George's dedication and service to the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of City of Lake Forest, Illinois hereby expresses its profound gratitude of the citizens of Lake Forest to George A. Pantaleone for the loyal and faithful public service he has given by means of this resolution, which shall be spread upon the permanent records of the City Council. May I have a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor. Okay. The next item on the agenda is approval of the 2023 and 2024 board and commission appointments and reappointments. Am I to read them all? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Building Review Board, John Luby as chair. Joanne Bloom, reappointment. Scott Rankin, reappointment. Tim Franson, reappointment. Cemetery Board, John Anderson, reappointment as chair. Robert Wayne, reappointment. Lowell Dixon, reappointment. Croya, Kate Leach, reappointment. And Kristen Lee, reappointment. Historic Preservation Commission, Leif Soderberg, reappoint, and Maureen Grinnell, reappoint as chair. Legal Committee, Joy Guscott Mueller, reappoint as chair. David Michael, reappoint, and Paul Sundberg, reappoint. Library Board, Brian Bertola, reappoint. John Johnson, reappoint. Joanne Desmond, reappoint. Parks and Recreation Board, Kevin Carden, reappoint, and Patrick Marshall, reappoint. Plan Commission, Louis Pickus, reappoint. Mark Pasquazi, reappoint. Barrett Davy, reappoint. Stephen Douglas, reappoint. John Dixon, reappoint as chair. Senior Resource Commission, Fred Montgomery, reappoint. Zoning Board of Appeals, Lori Rose, reappoint. Mary Bass, reappoint as chair, and Jamie Moorhead, reappoint. May I have a motion to approve the appointments and reappointments?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is comments by city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Tack, and good evening, new city council. I will keep my comments pretty brief because I think people have heard from me enough, but I do want to just take the opportunity on behalf of the entire city staff to welcome all of our new elected officials to the city council and to the role as mayor as well. I think you heard a lot of appropriate accolades tonight for the legacy that the past city council has left. But as we know in Lake Forest, the show must go on. And I just want to say on behalf of the entire city staff, we're very excited to work with all of you and to assist the city council in carrying out your collective vision for the community. And so again, thank you and congratulations.
And thank you. The next item is opportunity for citizens to address the city council. There being no takers, we'll move on to committee reports. I'm happy to say there are none this evening. The next item is items for omnibus vote consideration. Item number 1, approval of a resolution of appreciation for retiring members of boards and commissions as follows. Audit Committee, Terrence Mealing. Building Review Board, Richard Walther. I wonder where they are. Number 2, consideration of a request to waive the fidelity bond requirement in connection with holding a raffle in the city of Lake Forest for the Junior Garden Club and the Women's Board of Northwestern Lake Forest Hospital. Is there any comment or desire to pull one of these two items? That being said, can I have a motion to approve the two omnibus items as presented?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, it's a roll call vote,
Yes, sir.
except in that one.
That's okay. Alderman Kashkarian.
Aye.
Alderman Weber.
Aye.
Alderman Walther.
Aye.
Alderman Nobit.
Aye.
Alderman Mealing.
Aye.
Alderman Notes.
Aye.
Alderman Powers.
Aye.
Alderman Preschlack.
Aye.
8 yeas, 0 nay. Motion carries.
The next item on the agenda is old business. There is none this evening. Next item, new business. There is none this evening. Final item, additional items for discussion and comments by council members. Alderman Luby, Weber.
Thank you, Mayor Tack. I just wanted to welcome our new members, and we're looking forward to a wonderful term serving with you.
I'm looking forward to it as well, and by the way, I hope that instead of being a ringleader of a circus, I will be a conductor of an orchestra. Are there any other comments? There being none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. The meeting is adjourned.